Hi, it's Sam here, and I'm back with another book review. So this is a book all about nutrition, and it's one of the most authoritative books on nutrition. So stay with me if you want to learn what the real pros use in that field. So the book we're reviewing is McCance and Widdowson's The Composition of Foods. Now, I first heard about this book when I was going to conferences about nutrition and meeting a lot of the best speakers in that kind of field. And they advised me that this is the most authoritative book, the one that the dietitians and nutritionists use in their studies. And what it is basically just a bunch of food tables. So you can see here, it's the food tables, but this is the most complete information you could find. So when you're looking at the data on the food, what you can do is an internet search on Google or wherever. But the problem is that the different sources that you'll get for the information on a specific food you're interested in will all differ slightly. So what you want to know is the most authoritative, and this has the data that's considered the most authoritative. If you didn't want to have a book, the most comparable thing, I suppose, would be the USDA food tables, which you can download online as a spreadsheet, but then you can't look at it as a glance and compare all of the similar food and have it to hand all the time like you do with a book like this. So it's really nicely organised. It's organised by food group, the tables. So it starts off with cereal and cereal products and a load of kind of processed food and that kind of thing. And then it moves on to dairy products, milk and milk products. And it moves on into eggs and egg dishes, fats and oils, meat and meat products, the fish, the vegetables, the fruit, and the beverages. And it's really, really fine detail in this. So it's not just going to give you the calorie info or the macronutrients. It does give you those things, of course. But when you look at it on the next page, it gives you the finer detail. So it'll give you the grams of, it's all compared by 100-gram portion, every food in the whole book. And on the first page, it gives you the overview with the grams of water, the grams of the macronutrients, the calorie values. And then as it goes on to the next page for the same food, it gives you the breakdown of all of the vitamins and minerals in that food. And it also gives you a breakdown of what the actual carbohydrates are. So it tells you how many grams of the 100 grams are starch, the different sugars like lactose, sucrose, glucose, etc., and which part of it is dietary fiber, the indigestible carbohydrate. And then it splits down the fats into monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, and saturated fats of that component. So it's really going to give you the granular detail for the food. And what's particularly useful is that for each food, it sort of puts all of the similar things together, so you can compare different cuts of beef or lamb, and they're all right next to each other on the page. So you can see at a glance which is the leanest compared to all of the others. And then when it comes to the carbohydrates, you can see which are the highest in sucrose, if you happen to be avoiding that, for example, which are the most dense in starch, which are the most calorie dense and dense in starch per 100 grams, as opposed to it being more made up of water. And you can really compare. So I'd say for a coach, this would be indispensable because it gives you an overview when you're doing meal plans of what your different choices are and what you're gonna plug in. And then for the enthusiast, it's just a really good practice of using a book like this to gather the knowledge in the first place, because you're seeing all of the relevant factors of very similar foods compared to each other at a glance, and after a while that really starts to sink in. And it's what all, as I say, it's what all of the dietitians and nutritionists use. So it's been very, very useful to me. It's what I use when I'm considering my theory of why something performs better in my diet than something else. And it's also something that I use for forward planning for my diets and for others, as I see at a glance at which foods were considered options on the table, how they compare for different factors. If I was looking for kind of more bulk in the diet, but not so many calories. I want the higher water content stuff, for example. Or if I wanted more fat, I can see how that breaks down. And it's just all there for me without having to go to Google and search for individual foods, or without having to look down a table where they're not organised so clearly and not presented in that kind of granular detail where you're getting the different sugars and the different fats and really getting into the information that's beyond the macronutrients. So I would say this book I would rate a 7, in that I wouldn't say it's absolutely essential like others that I'm going to review, but it's so useful I personally wouldn't want to be without it. And as it's so authoritative, it's in various editions. So this particular one is the 7th edition, but you'd never need to update because most of the foods don't actually change. They're all old foods. In the different editions, it's only really as different processed foods enter or leave the market. And really, for our purposes, we don't need to know so much about that because we shouldn't really eat so much of it anyway. But once you bought it once, it's good to stay. Really handy desktop guide, and one that I'll keep returning to. So another recommendation from me, McCance and Widdowson's Composition of Foods. Good luck with it. And if you have any questions about other resources for nutrition, put them in the comments below. If you want more analysis of the different foods and everything else bodybuilding, consider my other videos coming up on the next screen and subscribing. Nice one. Cheers.